Behind the Horror, True Stories That Inspired Horror Movies, from author Dr. Lee Miller. I received this book as a Christmas gift from one of my best friends who knows I love the horror genre immensely. I was very curious about this book because there are stories in here that I didn't think inspired certain movies. Of course, you have The Exorcist, the Amityville Horror, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, yeah. But you also have classic films in here that I've watched, but I didn't know were based on true crime stories, or true horror stories for that matter. Now, the book is 271 pages long. It's a very, very quick read. Now, if you didn't know this about me, I do love to read. It's one of my favorite things to do. Be it horror, thriller, you name it, I love everything about reading. Now, anytime I start a book, I can't put it down until it's finished. No matter how many pages it is, no matter what it is, I have to read it front to back, through and through. This book is very interesting. Now, each chapter or movie is kind of intricate in a way, and it's done very, very well. The basis of these, I want to say, crimes, or these true stories, or true crime stories that inspired certain movies is absolutely mind-boggling, because the essence to detail of what happened, and then, you know, how it starts. Basically, the author starts off with a kind of synopsis, or a, you know, kind of retelling of what the movie's about and what it is, who the actors and characters are, and then they go into the real story that inspired the movie. Also, being that at the end of it, we find out how and what happened to these people. There are also, and I do want to say it's very interesting, there are also pictures of the actual people and the photographs. Some are snippets of the movies themselves, like you saw Linda Blair as The Exorcist. Not only that, you have other aspects to it, and it's just very different. It's something that some of these images are like, oh, these are what these people look like. It's very haunting in a way. There are, I want to say, let me count this out. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 movies on here that are really, really horror-based. Now, some of these horror movies I didn't know were previous things that happened in real life and current events in history. Like, for example, M is inspired by the serial killers of Weimar, Germany. Then you have Rope from 1948, which is the murder of Bobby Franks. And Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the crimes of Ed Gein. You all knew that already. And then Frenzy is from 1972, which is the crimes of John Christie and Neville Heath and the Hammersmith nude murders. Now, it's absolutely different and interesting. Now, the movie title is in the front, and the year the movie came out is after it. Now, then you have The Exorcist, 1973, which is based on the possession of Roland Doe. Jaws from 1975, the Jersey Shore shark attacks, the sinking of the USS Indianapolis, and the life of Frank Mundus. Now knowing that how Robert Shaw's character of Quint recites the USS Indianapolis, and then knowing the given detail of when you read this chapter in here about what those sailors went through is absolutely crazy, and it's just, my mind goes to a different destination when you're reading something. My imagination goes crazy, and just feeling like you're being there at the moment is absolutely unheard of. Now, this is next up is one of my favorite underrated horror movies, is The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which came out in 1976, which is based on the Texarkana Moonlight Murders. I absolutely love the movie, and I knew a little bit about the history of these Texarkana Moonlight Murders, but it goes in depth a little bit more in this book, and it's absolutely crazy how everything happens. Then you have the Amityville Horror, which came out in 1979, which is the haunting of 112 Ocean Avenue. You know that story. I don't even have to explain to you what it is, but reading it, it's just, wow, like, what, like, it's absolutely insane how everything came about. And then we all know that one big crazy scary picture that was caught at the Amityville Horror with the little boy sticking its head out through the staircase. I'll put that picture up right here right now. See it? Yeah, it's creepy. You look at it and you just look like, what is that? I'm getting goosebumps just looking at it and talking about it. Now, next up, I didn't know this was based off of a, behind the horror true story. It's Poltergeist, which is the C. Ford Poltergeist. When I read it, I was very, very surprised. Now, this chapter is only 10 pages, very quick, very short. But then you figure out, like, is it real, is it not real, or is it just something that was made up for the movie? Who knows? I don't know. That's one of the stories I'm just like, it could be a little bit iffy. Next up is A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, which is the sudden unexplained nocturnal death syndrome. Wes Craven took current events at that time and turned it into A Nightmare on Elm Street. Phenomenal, fantastic, absolutely mind-blowing, the story and the reading of it, and it's just crazy how you can't sleep and certain things happen and people just screaming out of their minds. So scary, so scary. Next up is The Serpent and the Rainbow from 1988, which is the strange tale of Claverius Narcissus, who evidently died and through a voodoo ritual came back as a zombie, but lived his life up until he was in his 70s. Like, imagine that. You come back as a zombie, then you live your entire life through a voodoo spell. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Up next, of course, The Silence of the Lambs from 1991, which was inspired by Ted Bundy, The Green River Killer, Gary Heidnik, Ed Kemper, Jerry Brudos, Dr. Alfredo Bali Trevino, Andre Cioccolataio, and The Monster of Florence. Like, so many things inspired Silence of the Lambs that it's one of the craziest movies ever. And Hannibal Lecter's not really the main villain, Buffalo Bill is. And this chapter is about 20 pages, 18 pages long, and it's a quick read. Now, Scream from 1996 is up next, which is the murder of Janet Kreisman and the crimes of the Gainesville Ripper. Absolutely crazy. And of course, Wes Craven used to take certain things from newspapers or news that he saw about certain serial killers and murders, and he always turned it into a movie. All of his films have been a hit. And the reason they have been a hit is because he took things from those news stories and made it his own. You want inspiration? Read Everyday News. You'll find inspiration left and right, and you'll come up with a story. Up next is The Mothman Prophecies from 2002, The Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. You've seen the movie. You know the whole Mothman conspiracy theory. Red eyes, wings, moth. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And they say that this bridge that is there was caused by the Mothman. I mean, the bridge collapsing caused by the Mothman. What could it be and what could happen? Still a very underrated movie to this day, and absolutely mind-blowing how, like, you knew it was, a true story, but certain things in here really catch you. Like this next one, Wolf Creek from 2005, which is the crimes of Ivan Milat and the murder of Peter Falconio. I mean, when the movie came out, I didn't know it was based on true events. Some horror movies say they're based on true events, but they do that just to make it more exciting. Some movies you don't even know if they are based on true events or not, but then they put their own spin on it, which is very different and very interesting, but it's so well done. Next up, of course, is The Conjuring universe. The Conjuring in 2013, Annabelle in 2014, and The Conjuring 2 in 2016, which, of course, is The Haunting of the Perron family, the case of the Annabelle doll, and the Enfield poltergeist. I don't have to go into detail about any of what I read in here about what these stories are. You've seen the movies. Ed and Lorraine Warren have their case files, and they went to these locations and they kind of helped these people with it. It's actually always fun to reread these because it's fun to see how different people have different excerpts and how they put certain things. And finally, we have two films which I didn't think were real. One is based off of another thing, and the last one I really didn't know. It's The Witch from 2015 and The Lighthouse from 2019. And The Witch is based on the Salem witch trials, and The Lighthouse is based on the Smalls Lighthouse tragedy. I didn't know that these two films were based on something that really happened. It's absolutely crazy how everything is in this book. It's absolutely fun to read. And if you've read the, I want to say, Amityville stories, the Annabelle, stories, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, you could probably skip those chapters and the book is a quick read. But I always love to read things that I didn't know about, and this is one of them. And Behind the Door, True Stories That Inspired Horror Movies is a phenomenal book. I didn't expect to like it, but I did, and then some excerpts in here are just mind-blowing. Like when you read the Exorcist chapter in here to find out the actual, like, what happened to Roland, the boy that inspired The Exorcist, I mean, it's creepy and scary. They do say the book is better than the movie, and yes, I agree. The Exorcist book is better than the movie. Of course, it's the scariest movie of all time, but it's done in a different way. They casted a lead girl actress because we felt more sympathetic to that kind of person or character. It's a girl, you know, she's the purity of it and all. But then if you change it and you read it as the ex of the boy, it's very scary too. The lesions, the marks, the craziness, the thing that happened. Like, you take certain things from the book, you put it into the movie, it's very, very different. And I'm curious to see if they actually stuck by the actual Exorcist book by William Peter Blatty. How would it even be more scarier? Not only that, with the aspect of the M, the very first chapter, like the aspect of what these people did in Weimar, Germany, mind-boggling. I mean, we know Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is Ed Gein. Jaws was an eye-opener as well. Poltergeist was very interesting. Then you reread the Amityville Horror stuff. I mean, and The Serpent and the Rainbow. I've gotten feedback and I've gotten questions about how good this book is, because I posted I got this as a Christmas gift on my social media accounts, and friends of mine and acquaintances and followers on my accounts have asked me, how is this book? Let me know. Is it fantastic? I want to read it. What is it like? Pick this book up, check it out, read it. You will absolutely love it. And not knowing certain things about certain inspirations for these movies, holy crap and holy shit. It'll open your mind to something that you didn't know. Now, on the back it says, there is nothing scarier than a true story. For decades, horror movies have terrified and entertained us, but many of the darkest nightmares to haunt our screens have even darker origins. They are based on real events. These events in this book are interesting, terrifying, scary. Knowing that what the mental capacity of what these people did is crazy. I don't want to say that the true events sounded better than the movie, but yeah, they did. I mean, The Exorcist book is much better, and how The Serpent and the Rainbow, it's like, can that be done again? Can a voodoo spell be put on someone where they come back as a zombie, but they live their entire life out until their 70s or early 80s? Mind-blowing, excellent, very, very well done, and a phenomenal Christmas gift I received from one of my dear best friends. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Behind the Horror, True Stories That Inspired Horror Movies, if you read it. If you didn't read it, will you be reading it now that I reviewed it? And what do you think about the stories and the actual movies that were attached to it and the true life events? Did you know about certain events that happened? And I'm pretty sure, like I said, the movies we all know, we know the backstory to those, but some movies we didn't, like Poltergeist, or The Lighthouse, or certain other movies that are in this book that, you know, you probably didn't know had a true story behind it. And let me know also in the comment section below if I should continue this series where I read a book or get a recommendation from you to read a book and then review it and give my thoughts on it. I love to read, and I want to hear your recommendations of what books I should read, and especially in the horror genre. I love horror books. I love opening up and smelling that new book smell and just going into a world where I didn't think I would be, and it's just immersed in a different world in reality. Let me know in the comment section below about all the questions I just asked, and be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos on my channel. And thank you for tuning into my very first book review on my YouTube channel, and please let me know if you want this series to continue. Thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video.